Step 2, lust. It's summer of 2022 and I'm in Mexico at the edge of a lake which is right next to the hostel that I'm staying in. And there's a sign here. It's a red warning sign. It's a sign that shows that there's crocodiles inside of this lake. But I'm laying down on the grass and I'm naked. I'm with a girl who I just met an hour ago outside of a nightclub, and we can hear the partying, the laughing and drinking going on inside of the hostel. And this is when something appears. It's not a prehistoric reptile. It's not police. It's some security guards. And they've caught me with my dick out, having sex in public. I'm shuffling my clothes on, getting stuck in my shirt, and she's like holding onto my arm. And the security guards and her start speaking in Spanish because she's from here, so she understands. And I'm literally just left out. Here I am with an erection with 3 people speaking a language I don't understand, not knowing what's going to happen to me. I ask her what's going on, what are they saying, what's going to happen, and she says, they're not going to call the police. They're not going to file a complaint. But they want you to go to the reception where the ATM is. I know what's going to happen. I've heard of this before. I'm in Mexico. These motherfuckers are going to try and ask me for like a bribe. They're probably going to try and charge me like $1,000 or something crazy. I might run. My heart starts going fast. I might actually just fucking run away from here right now. Fight, flight, and freeze. I'm the worst one. I'm a freezer. Now I'm at the reception of this hostel and they're telling me to pay. They want me to pay $150. I'm an entrepreneur, so I calculate the return on investment in my mind. And I'm thinking, you know what? $150, not get sent to a Mexican prison. Like, this is actually quite a high ROI investment, honestly. This would make Warren Buffett proud. I might actually take this deal. So he points over to the ATM in the corner. I'm like, yeah, sure. I go in, put my card in, put my PIN in. Doesn't work. Put my card back in, put my PIN in right. Doesn't work. I'm about to put my card in again, but I'm thinking, wait, it's not worked twice. If I try and put it in again, it's, you know, my card might actually get blocked by the bank or something. So I come back, now the ATM's not working. But yeah, remember, I've bought water from here, from this reception. I paid with like the card machine last time. I'll just pay with that again. And that's not what they wanted to hear. Because there was a card machine, like a normal credit card machine behind the reception, and I had literally paid for something before, like for a water bottle. But straight away, the guy behind the desk starts saying like, no, you can't, because it doesn't work till 6 a.m. It doesn't work today. It doesn't work till like 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. It needs to be cash. So I understand what's happening. They don't want me to pay on the card machine because then that money is going to get sent to like the company bank account. They want cash to split between the 2 security guards and this random guy behind the reception. So what can I do? I'll ask my sweet beloved, the girl that I've just been with. I turn over to her, explain the situation and say like, you know, can you just pay for it with, you know, cash, and then I'll bank transfer you. And she does not react how I thought she would. Because just 20 minutes ago, we were having sex and, you know, the most intimate thing that you can do together. And she just bursts out aggressively, almost like getting into my face. No English. I know instantly what's going on. It's like she's almost pretending to, you know, it was quite an embarrassing situation. So she's pretending to take a step back from it, not understanding what's going on either. She doesn't want to associate with me or something. She ends up storming off. The security guards let her off, but they're actually like keeping me here. And I actually don't know what to do. My heart is beating very fast. I'm feeling super stressed, not knowing what these 3 guys are going to do to me. And so I have an idea that's fairly pathetic. I say to them, oh, well, let's go into the hostel, like where the people are partying, because there was a few people there, like I partied with yesterday, and then I'll ask them to lend me the money. So here we are amongst all these people who are drinking, laughing, smoking, and I'm going one by one, asking them to lend me $150. No one has got the money for it. Everyone's like, yeah. You know, I don't have enough, bro. Yeah. But soon there's almost like a small circle forming around me, the security guards, because I've told people the situation, and, they're thinking like, oh, no, leave him alone, that's fine. Like, oh, what are you going to do? You're fining him. Like, people are starting to defend me. And so I ask a few of them to come back with me, and we go to the reception, and it turns into this big scene. I can see the security guards are getting kind of annoyed. And so they let me go back into my room whilst they like fix the ATM. So I'm here in the little hostel, little single bed amongst other people who are like sleeping and everything. And I'm lying down and I want to sleep, but I'm actually terrified, thinking at any moment I'm going to feel like a tap on my shoulder. What if they're going to wake me up an hour from now saying, no, yeah, we want $300 because we've had to fix the ATM because of you. I'm at genuinely like a 10 out of 10 state of stress. I'm thinking, should I just run away? They've got my details there. I don't even know what to do. In the end, I decide to just run away. I pack all my stuff in a bag. I end up just kind of like watching out for the CCTV and just like fast walk out. I didn't even have the courage to run for some reason, so I just like fast walk out of the hostel. Never checked out, never gave them the little key card. Just kind of fast walked. As soon as they noticed me, that's when I started to like jog away. They didn't even chase me. But as I'm jogging, I realized that this whole thing started because of my inability to control lust. I had literally just met a girl for minutes and then had sex with her like less than an hour later. And then she betrayed me, she backstabbed me, and I don't blame her for it because, she barely knew me. But she barely knew me. She was the kind of person who would betray me and backstab me. And here I was, like, sharing my soul with her. It honestly made me realize casual sex is worse, far worse than porn. With porn, it's just you there by yourself. You're not hurting anyone, but it's still obviously a really bad habit to get into. But it's just you. With casual sex, there's a whole other person involved. In this situation, it wasn't just one other person involved. It was 2 security guards, the guy behind the desk, all the other hostel, like, the people who were partying, and then also the girl. There was all these people, and yet I'm still alone. It was honestly one of the most like stressful days and somewhat lonely days of my life. I want you to think of just how bad the problem of controlling our lust really is. Because there's entrepreneurs out there whose entire job, whose entire companies are just revolving around monetizing your lust. You feel this somewhat natural desire and they make money from it. And since they make money from your lust, well, they want to make sure that you're feeling lustful all the time, way more than you actually should. So then we have all these porn companies, OnlyFans, even the guys who are like sort of running the OnlyFans agencies and all this pathetic, like degenerate stuff that's going on. And you, the consumer, are the one who's experiencing the pain of this because it is everywhere, these temptations. How crazy is this? It's more common for me to speak to a young man who's had a porn addiction for the last 5+ years than not. More than half of young men have genuine addictions to porn and have had that since they were 12 or 13 years old. And you can probably relate to that. I speak to guys who tell me their first experience of porn was age 9, before puberty. And not only that, I honestly think we're going to see such a huge uprising of women's problems with porn too. Because you probably can imagine for the last few years, women have had like a very sort of free sexual experience, know your body, play with yourself. And it seems like wholesome advice up until you realize that when a woman gets addicted to porn, it has very similar consequences. It truly does degrade her ability to be able to like pair bond with a man, just like as it does the man to the woman. Because here you are practicing these very poor like sexual habits. You're restraining your breath. You're focusing very much on like mental fantasy. You're looking at people who don't even know that you're there. You're conditioning yourself to be the observer of sex rather than the partaker. You're conditioning yourself to literally get turned on with your own sort of mental fantasies or like literally being a cuck. And the exact same thing is true for women. So here we are degrading our future ability to make love and to actually like bond incredibly with our partners for the sake of some pleasure today because we couldn't resist the desire of lust. But I think we can adopt more of a positive note around this, Because on this space online of men's self-improvement, the problem of porn is very clear. You knew this. But I want you to think right now, there's a lot of guys who know about NoFap. The concept of NoFap, of not watching porn, it's actually quite like famous. It's quite like public knowledge these days, right? Like you actually know fully about NoFap and not watching porn. And so do some of the people that you know. and you know, see all these communities, these massive influencers talking about it, we are seeing a massive uprise for people who are like openly talking about the fact that porn is really bad. And it's almost become like a counter community mindset to the people who just like, you know, just say, oh, well, you know, it's just a bit of fun. It makes me feel proud for young men like us who are being served like the most addictive substance. And we literally have like communities and mindsets and movements training each other, saying like, no, we're better than that. The most addictive thing they can put in front of you, and here we are, literally like routinely knowing that it's not good for us, taking the harder path. You're one of these men, I really do think you should feel proud of yourself. Even if, for example, you think that you've been struggling, you've been relapsing, just the fact that you're making progress, the fact that you're trying, the fact that you're sort of vigilant of this problem, means that you've actually put some work into this. And not only porn, but casual sex can be such a big problem as well. And I think that this is more of a hidden problem. A lot of people know about the problems with porn, but with casual sex, it's like this. I speak to a lot of guys who are actually kind of hoping for it. I speak to a lot of guys who've got Tinder accounts and they just want to try and get laid because they've been told that this is what they should spend their time on. And I don't blame you if you're like this, because I spent a lot of my life chasing, like, you know, the sort of validation and convincing yourself that, yeah, you know, this is the thing I should be spending my time on, rather than just developing yourself and living a happy life and your happiness not being tied to some random drunk girl. And this is a hard one to grasp for a lot of young guys, including when I was younger, because when you're told that casual sex is bad, you might be asking yourself, well, then how do you like have fun? But it can't be bad though, can it? Because it's really natural. This isn't to say that sex and making love is a bad thing. I think that can be very, very pleasant, like a very positive experience of life. It's to say, like, let's just be honest and obvious here. It's to say that having sex with a random girl that you've just met, who's unintelligent and stupid, and you've just met her in a nightclub and she takes drugs and she's nothing like you, it means that that's not a good thing. It means that matching with as many girls as possible on Tinder and trying your best to just sleep with as many as possible it's not showing that you respect yourself or your time. You could be building something great, like focused on self-mastery, focused on trying to like peel back the layers of your purpose so you can discover yourself and to have some kind of like spiritual experience, to feel your potential, to build like a beautiful business where you've hired loads of great people and you work alongside them. There's so many things you can spend your time on, and also developing yourself so that you can attract a really nice, like great woman and then have better sex with her anyway. So the problem with lust is that usually it will drive you to these low quality places where you don't want to be, which you're better than. When I think about even 21, 22-year-old me in the middle of a club or party, I just see it so odd, because I was like, you don't fit in there. Everyone there is taking drugs. Everyone there is unintelligent. Here's you who's reading self-improvement books, who's watching videos like this. Here's you who's going to the gym and tracking your macros. And you're around fucking like stupid people just for the sake of like, oh, but you know, I might get laid tonight. How about you just conserve that lust just for a little bit, develop yourself and think to yourself, when I meet like a really good woman and we really match, I'll have 10 times more sex with her. You can still enjoy sex in your life, but just make it with the right person. There's something from that marshmallow experiment that we spoke about at the start of this video, which I found very interesting. So imagine here you are, you're the little 4-year-old boy. The experimenter sat you down and said, okay, little Timmy, you know, you can have this marshmallow right now, you can have 2 later. What they found was that if you simply just moved the sort of bad thing away from your visual sight, you were 10 times more likely to resist the desire. If it was in front of you visually, it was very hard to resist it. How they did this was just with the marshmallows. They literally just put a plate over it. As soon as they did that, the kids were 10 times more likely to like pass this test. Now I want you to just visualize all of like the advertisements, billboards, social media, the porn companies, everywhere you look, there's more porn, there's more degeneracy, there's talks of like casual sex and pleasure. What we need to do is the equivalent of putting that plate over the marshmallows, but for things of our lust. Because right now, if you do have a social media account, I'm guessing that there is at least 1 or 2 profiles, probably from women, that are like causing urges inside of you. You go onto Instagram just coping, saying that it's just a 5-minute break. You're there for 15 minutes and you end up just clicking on the girl who's kind of hot that you know. And before you know it, you probably end up relapsing again. Or maybe it's on YouTube. Maybe you go onto YouTube, you go onto one of these like degenerate podcasts where one of the girls there has got cleavage or something, and here you are just like starting to fantasize, and boom, you've relapsed again. What we need to do is cleanse our space so that we don't see these degenerate, like these provocative things. I hope you're getting some ideas, because there's some things that you could implement right here, right now, and we'll do that for the actionable step coming up soon. Maybe you should unfollow like the girl that you follow who's causing these urges to arise. Whether there's any kind of social consequences or not. Like, oh, but you know, she's a girl from my school and she follows me back, so it looks kind of cool that I've got a hot girl who follows me. If you're constantly just being led by your lust and relapsing because of this, it's worth it for you to just unfollow her. Maybe it's the degenerate music that's on your Spotify and you listen to all these rappers. You know, I've realized so much recently how bad music is and how easy it is for you to get like a quick little boost to your self-improvement, your self-esteem, your self-image by not listening to degenerate music where you're plugging it in of this like rapper or singer who's talking about how great he is and how many bitches he fucks and how much money he makes. And here's you, like little chump, like listening to his brainwashing of like him talking about how great he is, and you're tuning into that. I just kind of like, I don't know, I saw that in a different perspective and thought, man, fuck me, that's sad. I'm never listening to that kind of music ever again. For the last like 3 months or so, I've not listened to like songs like that because it just disgusts me when I think of the idea of like, here is a degenerate who's talking about having sex and that the girls he's sleeping with like it. And here I am like listening to it. It's literally, it's kind of like cuck porn. Like most rap songs are like cuck porn these days. And you are like this weird, disgusting cuck weirdo if you listen to that consistently. And all these like normal people are going to listen to this. Oh, well, rap's actually, it's actually art, bro. And like, oh, but you're just being like, you know, oh, you can listen to some rap guys. Don't listen to Hamza. Like, yeah, sure. Do what you want. But don't be surprised when you start getting these weird cuck fantasies that are arising, that you feel like quite soft and timid when it comes to you having sex with a woman because you're more used to listening to guys who are talking about pounding them, and here you are like tuning into that, and you're more used to watching porn with the guys fucking the girl, and here you are as a passive observer. And so when it's time for you to have sex, you almost feel like a passive observer, even though this girl's on you. You want her to kind of put it onto you. You want her to engage it. You want her to start on you. You want her to dominate you. That's how they've conditioned you to be. This isn't your natural impulse. You weren't born as a cuck. You weren't born as like, you know, like as a boy who was supposed to turn into a man who was a coward. This is conditioning. It'd be interesting to see what kind of man you would be without these external influences, without this lust being put onto you, without this messaging from this rapper or this TV show. Most men never find out who they actually are. When you unplug and you really unplug, that's when you start to discover yourself. And there was another finding from the marshmallow experiment that's going to help you overcome lust. So imagine, okay, they've put you there again with the marshmallow, the 2 marshmallows. Okay, you've got to wait for them, okay? Then they tell you, why don't you think of something that makes you happy? Remember the time that when your mommy pushed you high on the swing? They would say that to some kids. Some, obviously, they get like super happy thinking of like this happy moment. They again were super, super significantly more likely to resist the temptation of just eating the 1 marshmallow now rather than delaying gratification for the other one. What was very interesting, they also tried the exact opposite. They told some kids, why don't you just think about how good the marshmallow is going to taste? Those kids ate it almost immediately. So what does this teach us? We should, 1, be trying to think of like positive thoughts and positive memories. But 2, we should not be fantasizing and keeping in mind the bad desire that we don't want to act on. And this is the exact opposite that a lot of us often do. When you get an urge for porn, be honest, you probably kind of circulate the urge in your mind a bit. You kind of almost fantasize in it mentally first, don't you? You almost like play around with it. It's kind of annoying and agitating to experience like an urge to relapse, but you almost like purposely keep it in your mind at times. The fat person who's like, thinking, should I eat the cake or not? Should I eat the cake or not? They're literally just like thinking about the cake for the next 10, 20 minutes. And of course they're going to end up eating it. When you get thoughts and urges and desires in your mind of, okay, maybe I'll go watch porn. No, I don't want to. Maybe I should. By keeping it in your mind, you're absolutely going to relapse. By like visualizing the kind of porn that you want to watch, visualizing, fantasizing about the girl that you want to sleep with, you absolutely will fail at this goal of yours to like become a better man and to be stronger and to use willpower. So instead, we're going to use a principle which is called if-then. A lot of programmers like nerds know about this. If-then. It's kind of like a mental model, almost like we're forming a mental habit. And the way it works is we clarify with humility that we're certainly going to experience a desire for porn or sex again, right? We know this, right? No matter even if you get onto NoFap, no matter how long you've been on, we know for a fact that we're going to have desires for porn or sex at some point in our lives, probably like 50 million of them, right? So if we are honest with that, okay, we're going to have those desires, we need to start to plan this almost mental model where we're going to say, okay, when I get that mental model, then what I'm going to do is, and set a real consistent, like super specific plan for that. So you can do this right now. Think to yourself, right here, right now, I'm going to get a lot more desires for porn and for all bad desires. As soon as I notice that I'm getting this desire, this craving, I'm going to do X. Now, a lot of people I've noticed will say like, oh yeah, do some push-ups, do some exercise. You possibly could do that. I'm not sure if that would be effective. The people I've spoke to, the young guys who say like, oh yeah, just do some push-ups, they always end up relapsing, because I'm not sure if trying to counter like a sort of a mental craving with something real world, which, it's almost a bit impractical, which sounds silly, but it's almost a bit impractical to like get down and do push-ups a lot of the time. I think it's better to almost make your like action, your response action, more of like a way of thinking. So mine, for example, is when I have a desire that I don't want to fulfill, I will instead immediately go and think about some kind of happy, pleasant, funny memory. Because when we have these positive emotions inside of us, we're far more likely to delay gratification, just because we don't really need much external things anymore. When you feel happy, you don't need to eat as much sugar because you already kind of feel happy. So you can just take my one. When you feel a desire for something that you don't want to feel, immediately go and think about some kind of like funny memory that just makes you kind of smile or laugh. And you'll find that your desire for that thing will usually go down. Because if we're being honest, the biggest reason why you watch porn is probably just because you're sad, bored, or lonely. Sometimes, yeah, there is the sort of the lust and the horniness, but let's say real emotions. I feel sadness, I feel bored, I feel lonely. So how many times do we really get this intense need to fap when we're in like a humorous, joyful, grateful, present, happy mood? Not often, right? It's usually when we're in this quite silent mood and, it's 4 p.m. or 7 p.m. and we're just in our bedrooms by ourselves. We're not talking to anyone. We haven't seen sunlight for the last few hours and we're sat here just mindlessly looking at content and, just wasting time, pretending to study. That's when it hits us. It's not like you ever are having such a funny conversation with someone you can't stop laughing, and that's when you're thinking like, yeah, now would be a good time to ejaculate. In the sugar section of this full guide, I explain fully how to control your emotions so that these emotions of sadness, boredom, or loneliness don't make you relapse on porn. So you might want to go watch that section as well. But first, your actionable step for this part of the guide is to take action right here, right now, with me. Grab your phone, go on to those apps which you usually find have caused the trigger for you. For a lot of guys, this will be social media. Maybe you've deleted your social media already, but let's say it's Instagram. And if you're just being honest, on Instagram, there is a girl that, for example, it feels like a lot of triggers, a lot of cravings and desires happen because of her. Maybe it's some like model or some celebrity. Maybe it's some girl that you know from like school or work or something. Go and unfollow her. This is for your own mental health, your own good. There's no reason to keep something which is literally just like poisoning your mind and, causing your mind to fall in. Because remember, for the kids in the marshmallow experiment, if we can cover the desire so you can't see it, you'll be far less likely to relapse. Maybe it's a girl on Instagram, but maybe it's also content creators on YouTube. I know for a lot of young men, they watch a lot of like seemingly traditional, but actually degenerate male influencers, role models. And so these people online, like, who I'm talking about, but like they'll be causing more triggers even though they're pretending to help you. So there's the NoFap YouTuber who shows you pictures of like attractive girls, knowing that it's going to make you relapse just because he doesn't actually give a fuck about you. He just wants you to like, watch, be more likely to click on the video. Anytime I see a NoFap YouTuber who puts something like triggering as a picture, the thumbnail or whatever, he puts like a sexy girl or something, I always just think to myself, this is a grade A dickhead. The same thing I see with these sort of men's podcasts where they know that the major problem that their audiences of experiencing is like porn and masturbation and triggers, and here they'll bring in a bunch of degenerate women and telling them to like dress up nice and wearing the push-up bras just to kind of put that into your face, and then here they are shouting at them and telling them, no, like, I am a high value man and you do this and you have sex, and like, and then straight after the show they just message them and say like, oh hey, do you wanna fuck? They desperately are trying to fuck the same girls that they're saying are damaged. Your actionable step, which will genuinely change your life forever: unsubscribe from garbage content. from the girl who doesn't even post anything educational, but she's just, you know, it's like the girl who's pretending to be like a fitness influencer and she's posting like, you know, her little workout routines, but she's wearing quite like sexual clothing, the kind of leggings that like fucking go up her asshole. And here she is posting it from the back. Oh, hey, you know, today I hit 4 times 8 squats. She's not actually selling fitness. She's selling sex. Unfollow, unsubscribe, block, delete. This includes seemingly like educational YouTubers who aren't actually posting like valuable content, and instead they're just posting triggering content. It's the Red Pill podcast. It's the Instagram pages you post that, you know, they've got pictures of girls in them, whatever it is. If there's things that trigger you, just get rid of it. You don't need to see this stuff in your day-to-day life. If you respect yourself, you'll go and do that right now.